It is Sunday the 1st of July 2018, Canada Day. 6 years ago to the day, I did a Canada Day Trudeau salute in front of the Unitarian Church of Montreal as part of my protest against how Montreal Unitarians and also the Unitarian Universalist Association in Boston, and by extension the larger Unitarian Universalist religious community, suppress Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms guaranteed civil rights and freedoms, such as the right to freedom of expression, freedom of opinion, and of course the right to engage in peaceful public protest. So it hasn't stopped. Back in June 1st of 2012, so 1 month before my Canada Day Trudeau salute of July 1st, 2012, the Unitarian Universalist Association's Canadian attorney, Stikeman Elliott Barristers and Solicitors defamation lawyer Maitre Marc-Andre Coulombe, falsely accused me of violating Canada's blasphemy law in a cease and desist demand letter that I was served with later in the month. But I received that demand letter in an email on Friday, June 1st of 2012. So 1 month later on Canada Day, I took the opportunity to give a Trudeau salute to all of the Montreal Unitarians and Unitarian Universalist Association leaders and Unitarian Universalists more generally who try to suppress my Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms guaranteed rights to freedom of opinion, freedom of expression, which includes the right to engage in peaceful public protest. They've repeatedly tried to shut down this protest in front of the church, and they're still trying to do it. Most recently, on December 11th of 2017, I was at a Montreal City Council meeting where I was there to ask a question during the public questions period of that City Council meeting. Before I could ask the question, I was arrested by SPVM police officers for the alleged criminal harassment of Montreal Unitarian clergy abuse cover-up enabler Sue Montgomery. And I'm softening the blow a little bit by referring to Sue Montgomery as a clergy abuse cover-up enabler, because she's absolutely certainly that. She has enabled the cover-up and the concealment of Unitarian Universalist clergy abuse for some decades now. But when you do that, you're actually a clergy abuse enabler, because when you help keep it hidden, when you help the Unitarian Universalist Association, or for that matter any other institution, from properly addressing clergy abuse problems, then you're effectively enabling the abuse itself. And you're certainly complicit in the abuse and the inadequate responses to that abuse. In any case, so this was an arrest for alleged criminal harassment, which essentially means that Sue's pretending to be very, very frightened of me, pretending to fear for her personal safety, even though I've never made any threats against her, even though I have a long history of nonviolence. She's, in my opinion, just plain lying about being afraid of me in order to have conditions placed on me, which, you guessed it, suppress my Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, rights to freedom of opinion, freedom of expression, and right to engage in peaceful public protest, but more specifically, by falsely accusing me of criminal harassment, Sue Montgomery also suppressed my ability to participate in city council meetings where I can ask questions, and not just in terms of her, but basically in terms of any and all council meetings and councillors. So this was an attack on my ability to participate in the democratic process in Montreal in terms of city council meetings. Sue Montgomery placed conditions on me which prevented me from being at her workplace, and that obviously includes Montreal City Hall and so on, wherever city council meetings are being held, whether they're the Montreal City Council meetings or the Côte-de-Neige Notre-Dame-de-Grâce City Council meetings. So Sue suppressed my ability to ask questions at city council meetings. Again, not just in terms of asking questions to her, but anyone else. That's outrageous. But on top of that, she tried to place conditions on me which would have prevented me from protesting in front of the church here. She tried to place a condition on me which prevented me, or would prevent me, from being at the Unitarian Church of Montreal. Unfortunately for Sue, the SPVM screwed up and they put that condition in section for exceptions to the conditions. And that was clearly a mistake. It was clearly intended that I should be prevented from protesting in front of church. It was clearly from Sue's subsequent behavior and so on that she wanted to end my protest in front of the church. But it took me actually a couple of months before I found out that the SPVM had screwed up. I thought that condition was against me, and I respected it through December, January, and February because I thought I was under that condition. But when I showed the document to my lawyer, or the person who I was considering to be my lawyer, he immediately told me, no, that part about the church is in a section reserved for exceptions to the condition, so it doesn't apply. But he agreed also that this was a mistake on the part of SPVM, that this was just a clerical error, as it were. But in any case, my lawyer was later able to get the conditions reduced so that was taken right out. There's no reference to the Unitarian Church of Montreal at all, and he was able to make it possible for me to be at city council meetings. There is a slight glitch in terms of city council meetings in Côte-des-Neiges, Notre-Dame-de-Grâce, which is problematic, and I'm trying to get that dealt with, but I've at least been able to ask questions at Montreal city council meetings. But Sue Montgomery is definitely one of the Montreal Unitarians who has actively tried to suppress my freedom of speech through misuse of the SPVM and misuse of the criminal code, and not just in terms of this ridiculous criminal harassment charge against me. She previously pretended to be very frightened of me back in 2007 towards the end of helping the minister, Reverend Diane Rollert, obtain a restraining order against me. Essentially, Reverend Diane Rollert pretended to be very, very frightened of me again, even though I'd never threatened her, have no history of violence. She nonetheless claimed to be very frightened of me. She rounded up at least half a dozen to a dozen members of the church to make similar depositions, and she actually was able to get one of the worst judges in Quebec presiding over the hearings, and so that less than excellent judge did actually did grant the restraining order for 1 year, which I believe was a unjustified repression of my ability to protest, but that's how it works sometimes. Anyway, Sue Montgomery was involved in that, so as far as I'm concerned, and she's also been involved in other calls into the SPVM trying to get my protest suppressed, so no question about it. Sue Montgomery, Montreal Unitarian, clergy abuse cover-up enabler, if not clergy abuse enabler, who also is the mayor of Côte-des-Neiges, Notre-Dame-de-Grâce, who is also the deputy mayor of Val-Plante, even though I told Val-Plante about Sue's ethical lapses. Nonetheless, Val-Plante, in her amateurism, appointed Sue Montgomery as her deputy mayor, I believe on the 27th of January 2017. So that's it. Sue Montgomery, here's a Trudeau salute for Sue Montgomery, who is unquestionably guilty of trying to suppress my freedom of speech, trying to suppress my Canadian Charter of Rights, guaranteed rights to freedom of opinion, freedom of expression, and peaceful public protest. Happy Canada Day.